This video will go through the key concepts of Unit 2.2, Organizational Structure. This topic is an important one, as you will learn various terminology that you will use to describe the way the firm's human resources are organized, and these terms will come in handy in later topics in the unit or in writing your responses. As a business grows, it needs to organize its staff into a more formal structure. Before we get into these different structures, there are a few terms that you need to know. The first term is delegation, which refers to the idea of a manager trusting a subordinate to finish a task. A subordinate is someone who is below a manager in the organizational hierarchy. This can be a source of motivation for employees who feel that their boss trusts them by giving them additional responsibility for a task. The span of control is how many subordinates each manager is responsible for. A wide span of control means the manager is responsible for many employees, while a narrow span of control means the manager is only responsible for a few employees. Levels of hierarchy show the various levels of formal authority within an organization. We describe organizations as having many levels of hierarchy or few. A clear chain of command can help make communication more effective and efficient. Chains of command can be described as long, which means that there are many levels of hierarchy, or short, when there are only a few levels of hierarchy. The next set of terms have to do with decision-making in the organization. Bureaucracy are the administrative systems in the organization and relate to the various rules and procedures the business has. Bureaucracy is thought by many to be a bad thing, but for some organizations where procedure and policy is important, such as government, it can be beneficial. Decision-making can either be centralized or decentralized. Centralized decision-making means decision-making is made by a few members in the organization, typically senior management. Decentralized decision-making is when decision-making is distributed throughout the organization. Finally, we have terminology that describes the changes in the organizational structure. Delayering is the process of removing one or more of the formal layers of hierarchy within the organization. This reduces the level of hierarchy in the firm, moving it from a taller structure to a flatter structure. We will discuss what these structures are in more detail in the next slide. Matrix structures are a type of structure that combine people from different parts of the organization. This typically involves people from different departments, such as marketing, finance, or human resources, working together for the business. For more details on these terminologies, how they might show up in a test or exam, as well as how to apply them in various case contexts, check out the video we have on this topic on our website. The two main organizational structures are tall and flat. Flat, or horizontal structures, are those that have only a few levels of hierarchy. This means managers have a wide span of control and more authority over decision-making. At the same time, this leads to added responsibility and pressure. These firms also have shorter chains of command, making communication easier. These structures tend to have a more informal relationships between employees and management, but also make it more difficult for close supervision to occur. Meanwhile, tall structures are those that have many levels of hierarchy. These structures are characterized by narrow spans of control, with each manager responsible for only a few subordinates. Taller structures tend to allow for more promotion opportunities for junior employees. At the same time, decision-making is slower due to communication being slower and more complicated. The key skill here is to use the terminology that was introduced at the start of this video in describing various organizational structures. Other organizational structures include organization by product, which involves organizing the business around the various products it sells. For example, if Disney were organized by product, there would be a theme park division, a hotel division, and a streaming division. Organization by function, which involves organizing the business around the various business functions, which includes human resources, finance, marketing, and operations. This is the most common type of structure for firms. And finally, organization by region involves organizing the business by location. Each area is led by a regional director and can help a business tailor its offering to the local market. For example, these organizations tend to have a head of America, head of Europe, Middle East and Africa, and head of Asia Pacific. Standard level students, the next slide is higher level only, so feel free to skip to the end of the video. Higher level students, you also need to know some ways in which organizational structures can change. The first is through a project-based organization structure, which involves the temporary use of teams in order to work on specific projects. This involves combining people from different parts of the firm to help benefit from the diversified skill sets of employees. This gives employees a chance to work on different projects with different people. building their networks across the firm, and developing new skills. However, it can also lead to difficulties in prioritizing and managing various tasks and priorities. The other one is Handy's Shamrock organization. This classifies workers into one of three categories. The first one is professional core, which are full-time essential employees. These are employees who are key to the firm's operations. The second category is the contingent workforce, which are those who are temporarily workers employed by the firm on a short-term basis. And finally, we have outsourced vendors, who are specialists the firms relies on for specific tasks or projects. This allows for greater flexibility and cost savings for the organization, but also can lead to decreased motivation for the contingent workers as they don't get the same pay and benefits as the professional core. And that concludes the key concepts for this topic. We recommend you to use these 4 steps as part of your study routine. The most important aspects are 1. Knowing your content, 2. Understanding the response structures, and 3. Practicing case studies. Unlike most other courses, only knowing the content will only get you to a level 5 in business management. Knowing your response structures and doing a lot of practice case studies and developing the application skills are key to helping you score a level 7. If at any point you need any personalized help or tutoring for any part of the business management course, from content to response structures to case studies or the IA and the extended essay, feel free to get in touch with us via email or WhatsApp.